Why, by George, the video cuts, and this is my first time filming a video with this camera, and the video cut. Not due to solishness or whatever, and thank heavens it did, for I was actually filming upside down, and it was this one called edit, well, one knows. So I will not re-say what I did say, so if somebody wants to watch an upside down video, pray do so. Really, what is interesting, unique there is what I'm talking about, not the filmography. Anyhow, so while I was talking, I hope it films, well I can't even see what I'm filming. The blazes, so yes, so the proportions, so basically, the main difference I noticed between this pair of Thurston blazes and more modern pairs, and by more modern, I mean anything postmodern, anything I saw, which was made after the postmodern era, so after 1920, which there are quite a few for sale upon eBay or the likes. Original pairs of Thurston blazers, which are obviously not as old as the ones I found, but which are still vintage from the 1940s, 50s, 60s, usually not before the 50s, and usually they have the almost or exact same dimensions as those made today. But these are ever so slightly quite different from the ones in the advertisement, and thenceforward I realized the ones upon eBay that I found recently, and thus which I purchased. And these happen to be my first pair of Thurston blazers that I ever had. Now, I do not think there's anybody else living upon the earth right now whose first pair of Thurston blazers happened to be such an antique pair, an original antique, and I've not owned any other pairs of Thurston blazers. Well, the dimensions, again, my reasoning basically is the following. Since I have seen upon eBay pairs that dated to the 1960s, and which were ever so different in, for example, then having, I remember a seller, he said it was made out of, the leather tab ends there were made out of cat skin. Now, that is not actual cat skin, but the intestines of a lamb. Quite horrible, right? And it makes a very soft and supple leather. And they have not been making leather in at least 20 years. I mean, Thurston. But otherwise, this pair dated from the 1960s. Apart from the cat skin, it was one of the traditional box cloth blazers with a neck's back and two elasticized straps in the back, elastic straps in the back, but then box cloth, which is a very dense weave, very heavy boiled wood, which is very hard rolling, and they make a lot of those, and they have been making them since probably the beginning, 200 years ago now. In fact, exactly 200 years, or 202 years, whatever, I forgot when this thing opened exactly, but so apart from the cat skin, the buckles, the material of the buckles, I reckon, again, I have not seen them face to face, and the only pair I ever saw in my hands and had was that pair, the super old one, but the ones upon eBay really seem to be identical to the ones upon their shop, online shop, apart from the cat skin. In other words, the leather button tabs on the front and back, which were made out of the intestines of lamb instead of the lamb skin today, which is the lamb skin but not the intestine. Thus, the proportions and everything else were the same. From a pair that dated again, probably dated from the 1960s, I said 50s, I meant 60s, or thereabout. Or 60 or at least 50, at the very least 40 years, they made it from the 1980s, but not before, for a sort of packaging box, whatever. So if for 40 years they would not change their style, what they might have done so back in the 1800s and 70s, especially since the style of the ones I have, which is the same in the 1870s, or the 1870s style I've seen upon the ad again, is very close in terms of proportion and everything else to what they still today make. Thus, they only changed, my reasoning is that they only changed their style ever so little bit, perhaps every 50 years or so. So really, all of that to say that the pair I have, I know cannot date from the after 1920s, for again I saw photographs of those upon the internet and to look in fact more like those they make today. The 1920s ones onwards look more like those they make today. In fact, they're rather identical. But they can date from before. Seen in the ad, they could be exactly from the 1870s, for that spot on the same. But because they seem to be changing their styles, in about every 40 years or so, only a little bit, they could clearly also date from the 1890s, and thus be liable to be in that channel. But now, they are British, also have a Thurston, British brand, and I reckon they're still within Britain. Back then they were certainly made in Britain. But aren't they upper class? No, they are not upper class, so they should not be part of that channel. But because they fit in two filters, I saw come on. Because obviously the upper class, as per my feelings, is very hard to know for sure things are back then. But the upper class would clearly have had custom-made blazers. I mean, the spoken-made articles that would fit them perfectly and do not need this extra material, extra overlapping fabric. I already explained it in the last video I posted about the blazers. And I mean in the first one I posted about blazers, where I showed these and another antique one. And I think I'm done today about that thing is recording. Yes, it is recording. So yes. So by this deduction that I have now just explained and I would say divulged and I forgot the word. Well, one understands how it is that people like us, would it be myself, Nikolai from Vintage Watch, or I forgot his name, from Old Guy Vibes, or just historians, generally speaking, even professional historians, how we can, from an old broken down pile of blazers, even date it, because we look at, how do we know that? Because we look at the advertisements, which are often dated. We look at photographs from the period, which we can date in many other ways. Sometimes undated, sometimes photographic experts can date the paper, and then we can confirm, yes, and it fits. They use this paper for the photograph, and this way of photographing is popular during the 1880s, because their fashion, we know, is from the 1880s, because we saw originals with the date. Some originals have the teller's date, but that is rare, and also the pristine thing, and we can make all these reasonings that I've just actually made in front of the camera for you about the blazers, and how come I can say they do not date from after 1920s. But as I think, as I know, as per now, as with the knowledge I have about blazers and fashion in general, I would date them to perhaps just before the 1870s, to 1910-20. Perhaps in 2 weeks I shall stumble upon something on the internet, which helps my to narrow it down even further, and I will come back and say, no, forget what I said. It could not date from 1920, obviously before. It could not even date from 1910. It could not even date from the 1890s. We continuously learn, for it is our passion